Why is the Statue of Liberty such an important symbol of the United States?
The Statue of Liberty stands for many of the nation's most cherished ideals: freedom, equality, and democracy. Perhaps most important to the millions of immigrants for whom the statue was one of their first sights of the United States is the ideal of opportunity, the chance to begin a new life, in a new land. While their lives in the United States were frequently difficult, for millions of immigrants, America offered the chance to escape from grinding poverty and abusive governments in other lands. Standing in the midst of New York Harbor, the point of entry into the United States for so many immigrants arriving on ships from other countries, the Statue of Liberty has been a powerful symbol of opportunity for more than 100 years. A poem called The New Colossus, written by Emma Lazarus, was mounted on the statue's pedestal in the early 1900s. Its famous lines include these words that Lazarus imagined Lady Liberty to be saying: "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me, I lift my lamp beside the golden door."
If plants make their own food, why do some eat insects?
Carnivorous, or meat-eating, plants do make their own food through photosynthesis. But they also capture small prey, most frequently insects, for the minerals that they provide. Usually carnivorous plants, like Venus flytraps, grow in swamps and marshes where the minerals that plants need for growth, especially nitrogen, are in short supply. Minerals from the bodies of insects caught in their leaves allow carnivorous plants to grow in these otherwise unsuitable places. Carnivorous plants usually attract insects with nectar or with a pleasing smell or color. Many have sticky leaves or slippery pouches that trap insects once they land there. The Venus flytrap has pairs of jaw-like leaves that snap shut when attached trigger hairs are disturbed by a visiting insect. Once insects are trapped, carnivorous plants produce spe chemicals that digest them. Scientists have identified nearly 500 species of carnivorous plants.
What are the continents?
The land masses on Earth are divided into 7 continents. They are, from largest to smallest, Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Europe, Antarctica, and Australia. Some people group Europe and Asia together into a single continent called Eurasia. At 17,226,000 square miles, 44,614,000 square kilometers. Asia covers about 30% of the world's area. Australia, at the other end of the size spectrum, is 3 million square miles, 8 million square kilometers. Australia is not only a continent, it's a country, too. And while it ranks as the smallest continent, Australia is one of the largest countries in the world.
What is a disability?
The word disabled usually refers to a person who has a physical or mental handicap that keeps him or her from doing certain tasks or makes performing them unusually difficult. Most physical disabilities, like blindness or paralysis, are easily noticed, but many mental disabilities are harder to detect. Mental disabilities can include diseases like schizophrenia, which causes severe disturbances in people's thoughts and emotions. Another category of disability is learning disabilities, like dyslexia, which is a learning disorder that makes reading very difficult because the brain reverses the order of letters and words. A disability can be the result of a disease, an accident, or of genetics, which means that it is a condition that a person is born with. A lot of times disabled people can learn new ways to do things or use special machines or specially trained animals to help them work around their disability. Many disabled people prefer the term differently abled, a description that doesn't divide people into categories like normal and disabled, but addresses the idea that every person has different abilities. In ancient and medieval times, people were frightened of and cruel to those with disabilities. Because those disabilities were not understood, the disabled were ignored or abused. Even today, many people feel uncomfortable or awkward around disabled people staring at them, treating them differently, or even behaving unkindly. Classifying disabled people as different makes it easier for some people to behave in a disrespectful way toward them. But it's important to remember that all people, regardless of whether they have the use of their legs or eyes, or whether they learn quickly or slowly, deserve to be treated with decency.
What makes soda pop fizz?
Soda pop gets its fizz from carbon dioxide, a harmless gas that makes up part of the air we breathe. It is mixed into soda pop to make it light and fun to drink. When a soda bottle or can is sealed, the gas can't escape and stays mixed with the beverage. But when soda is opened or poured into a glass, carbon dioxide, which is much lighter than the liquid, rushes to the surface in the form of bubbles and escapes into the air after bursting. Sometimes the bubbles rise so fast, bringing soda pop with them, that they make a frothy, fizzing foam. Soda pop goes flat when it has been left in an open container for a long time and has lost all of its bubbles, or carbonation.
How are books made?
Once a book has been written and edited, it must be typeset, printed and bound, and today those tasks are performed mostly by machines. The typesetter follows the instructions of the book designer, taking a regular-looking electronic document, like something you might create on a home computer for a school report, and formatting it so it looks like a book page with type in all different sizes and styles. After the book has been proofread checked for mistakes, the typesetter either prints out the pages onto a special kind of paper that can be photographed, or creates a special computer file containing the whole book, including pictures. The second method, called electronic prepress, eliminates several steps for the printer and has become far more common in recent years. Regardless of the method used for delivering the book to the printer, whether on camera-ready paper or a computer disk, the printer must create several large negatives, like the ones you get back with your pictures when you've had film developed at the drugstore. Each negative contains several pages of the book. These negative sheets, called flats, are placed over a thin metal plate that is sensitive to light, like the paper that photographs are printed on. When exposed to light, the images from the negatives, the words and pictures of the book, appear on the metal plate, which is now ready to accept ink and print the pages of the book. The metal plate is loaded onto large cylinders, tubes, and covered with ink, which only sticks to the parts of the plates that have the letters and images. Then large sheets of paper are rolled through the cylinders, which press the ink onto the paper. Once the ink has dried, machines fold the sheets of paper many times over, pinching, pulling, and creasing them. Each large sheet, once it's been folded up by the machine, forms a section of the book, called a signature, and all the sections of the book are then put together and readied for binding. The final step of making a book involves either gluing or sewing all the signatures together, attaching the cover, and trimming the pages so all the book's edges are perfectly even. The book is now ready to be shipped to a bookstore or library where it can be read and enjoyed.
What is a fossil?
A fossil is the hardened remains or an imprint of a plant or animal that lived a very long time ago. Some fossils are thousands of years old, others are several 100 million years old. Most plants and animals died and then decayed without ever leaving a trace. But some were buried under mud, rocks, ice, or other heavy coverings before decaying. The pressure of these layers over thousands of years turned animal and plant remains into rock. Usually fossils preserve the organism's hard parts, the bones or shells of an animal, and the seeds, stems, and leaf veins of plants. Sometimes the fossil is the actual animal part, like a bone or tooth, that has hardened into rock. Some fossils, called trace fossils, show the imprint of parts of the animal or plant. Occasionally these imprints act as a mold, and the sediment that fills the imprint hardens and becomes a cast of, for example, a dinosaur footprint. Sometimes bones or trees are preserved by minerals that seep into the part's pores and then harden, or petrify, that part. Arizona's petrified forest contains numerous examples of giant trees that were petrified millions of years ago. In some cases, an entire animal is preserved in ice. Hardened tree sap, called amber, or in dry, desert areas. In these instances, as with woolly mammoths found in Alaska and elsewhere, the whole animal hair, skin, bones, internal organs is preserved much as it was when it died thousands of years earlier.
Why do I have to wash my hands after I blow my nose?
Even when you use a tissue to blow your nose, you may get some of the impurities from inside your nose on your hands. You can keep from spreading germs to others or to surfaces that other people will touch by washing your hands well. That doesn't mean running the tips of your fingers under cold water. A good hand washing takes 2 minutes in warm, soapy water.
Why is mercury used in thermometers?
Mercury, the only common metal that has a liquid form at room temperature, doesn't become a solid until it reaches -38 degrees Fahrenheit, -39 degrees Celsius. Most liquids freeze in temperatures like that. Mercury doesn't boil until 611 degrees Fahrenheit, 357 degrees Celsius, and it doesn't stick to glass. So mercury is an ideal material to use in thermometers, which are often needed to record temperatures well below zero and well into the range where most liquids boil. Colored alcohol is sometimes used in thermometers, but because it boils easily, it is not good for recording high temperatures. Like all liquids, mercury expands when it is heated and contracts when it is cooled. In a thermometer, it moves up and down in a closed tube on which a scale is marked, showing the temperature of the air, liquid, or solid that surrounds it. A major disadvantage to mercury is that it is extremely poisonous. Some states in the US have banned the sale of mercury thermometers, and others are expected to follow. Mercury thermometers should be handled with care. If a thermometer breaks and mercury spills out, cleanup should be done by an adult wearing rubber gloves. The mercury beads should be scooped up with a piece of stiff cardboard and placed in a container with a lid. Anything that touched the mercury gloves, cardboard container should be sealed in 2 layers of plastic bags. A local waste disposal agency can advise on how best to dispose of the bag containing the mercury.
What is a shooting star?
A shooting star, or falling star, is not really a star at all. It is actually a meteor, a small piece of matter usually made of stone and iron. Flying through space, a meteor becomes visible when it enters Earth's atmosphere. As it falls toward Earth, it becomes heated from friction with air molecules and becomes incandescent, giving off great light. Most meteors burn up completely before they hit the ground. If they do make it to Earth, they are called meteorites.
Do people use more muscles when they smile, or when they frown?
Yes, what your parents tell you is true, it takes far more muscles to frown than it does to smile. Smiling only uses 17 muscles, while frowning requires 43.
Where does the sun go at night?
The sun doesn't go anywhere at night, it is Earth that moves. Earth makes a complete rotation on its axis once every 24 hours. So half of our constantly shifting planet is always turned facing the sun, experiencing day, while the other half is turned away from the sun, experiencing night.
Why do my lips turn blue when I'm in cold water too long?
Your red, fleshy lips are full of blood vessels. When you are in cold surroundings, the blood vessels in your skin become narrower. This narrowing reduces the amount of heat lost through your skin and channels more blood to the internal organs that run your body. When the blood vessels in your skin contract, it loses its usual pinkish color, a color that comes from the regular supply of red blood flowing through it, and you appear pale. Your lips lose their rosy color, too. You resemble a person who has cyanosis, a condition caused by a lack of oxygen in the blood that makes the lips and skin appear blue or gray. Even though you have enough oxygen in your blood when you are in cold water, most of that blood is directed inward. After you leave the water and warm up, your blood begins to circulate normally through your skin again, and your red lip color returns.
Do fish sleep?
While fish don't sleep in quite the same way as people, scientists believe they do enter a resting state. People are generally still, with eyes closed, during sleep. Most fish don't have eyelids, so they obviously can't close their eyes to go to sleep. And some fish do seem to stop moving when they sleep, but others cannot afford to stop moving. Tuna, for example, must stay in motion because they need to have water moving constantly over their gills to get oxygen. Some fish find a nook between rocks or in a coral reef to rest in, and others actually build a nest for sleeping. When it's ready for a rest, the parrotfish releases a jelly-like substance that surrounds its body, offering some protection while it dozes.
What is bioluminescence?
Bioluminescence is the ability of some organisms, like fireflies, to light up. This phenomenon occurs in some protozoa, fungi, ocean-dwelling invertebrates, such as some species of shrimp and squid, and even some fish, anglerfish and hatchetfish. It does not occur in more highly developed animals like birds, reptiles, amphibians, and mammals. The light results from a chemical reaction, and scientists believe it serves a variety of functions in animals. Sometimes animals use their light to confuse or scare their enemies, and sometimes it is used to attract a mate. For some deep-sea creatures, their body light may help them see in an otherwise completely dark environment.
How do vines climb?
Some plants, referred to as vines, need support to grow to their full height. Vines climb in different ways. Some have soft, twisting stems, or tendrils, that they use to climb up other, stronger plants or supports. In such vines, once they touch supports, hormones make their stems grow more quickly on one side than the other, producing clinging spirals. Other climbing plants have special growths, like tiny aerial roots or pad-like suckers on their stems, that help them cling to walls and trees. Still others use hook-tipped leaves or sharp thorny spines like climbing roses to hold onto upright surfaces. Vines occur in many different groups of plants. They can be deciduous, losing their leaves in winter, or evergreen, keeping their leaves year-round, and they can live one season, annuals, or many, perennials. Some vines commonly found in gardens include grapes, zucchinis, and bougainvillea.
Why do people and countries go to war with one another?
Wars have taken place since the beginning of recorded history, and they surely occurred before that as well. A war begins when one group of people, the aggressors, tries to force its will on another group of people, and those people fight back. War frequently springs from the differences between people, or from the desire of one group to increase its power or wealth by taking control of another group's land. Often the aggressors feel that they are superior to the group they want to dominate. They believe that their religion, culture, or even race is better than that of the people they wish to defeat. This sense of superiority makes them feel that it is acceptable to fight to take the land, possessions, and even lives of the inferior group. or to force their ways on the dominated people so that they resemble their conquerors. When Europeans settled North America, for example, the Native Americans who lived there fought a series of wars with them for the next 250 years, trying to keep their land and preserve their way of life. They eventually lost the battle and were forced to either live like their European conquerors or relocate to parcels of land set aside for them called reservations. Civil wars take place between groups of people within a single country. And international wars occur between nations. Because countries can be very different from one another in government, religion, customs, and ideology, ways of thinking, it is not surprising that nations disagree on many things. But great efforts are usually made to settle the disagreements through discussion and negotiation. A process called diplomacy before they result in anything as destructive as a war. War usually occurs when diplomacy fails. Because science and technology have allowed us to create such powerful and destructive weapons that can result in such devastating wars. We now have international organizations that work all the time to try to keep peace among nations.
How many oceans are there?
The world has 4 oceans: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, and Arctic. Sometimes the water that surrounds the continent of Antarctica is called the Antarctic Ocean, which would then bring the total to 5. Because all of the oceans are connected to each other, some people consider them to be one gigantic world ocean that is divided into 4, or, if the Antarctic waters are regarded separately, 5 parts. The Arctic Ocean is about 5,440,000 square miles, 14,103,626 square kilometers, in area. The Antarctic covers 12,450,000 square miles, 32,253,886 square kilometers. The Indian Ocean has an area of 28,380,000 square miles, 73,523,316 square kilometers. And the Atlantic extends over 41 million square miles, 106,217,610 square kilometers. The greatest of the oceans, the Pacific, has an area of 64,186,000 square miles, 166,284,970 square kilometers. The Pacific Ocean is by far the deepest, in the Mariana Trench, which extends southeast of the island of Guam to northwest of the Mariana Islands. The ocean floor is 36,198 feet, 11,034 meters, down. The tallest underwater mountain called a seamount is also located in the Pacific Ocean. Mauna Kea rises from the ocean floor and extends above the water surface in Hawaii. It measures 33,480 feet. 10,205 meters, in height, which is even taller than the world's biggest surface peak. Mount Everest, though Mauna Kea's peak is only 13,796 feet, or 4,205 meters, above sea level. The oceans hold 322,280,000 cubic miles, 1,347,000,000 cubic kilometers, of salt water. If you have an aquarium, you know how heavy water can be. Each cubic mile of seawater weighs 4.7 billion tons. That's 9.4 trillion pounds, or 4.3 trillion kilograms.
What is a hurricane?
A large and fierce storm, a hurricane starts in the tropical areas of the Pacific, North Atlantic, or Indian Oceans, where it gathers great quantities of moisture and thermal energy, or heat. It is circular in shape, spiraling inward toward a nearly calm center that is called the eye of the hurricane. A hurricane may blow inland, where its high winds, ranging from 75 to 200 miles 121 to 322 kilometers per hour. And hard rain can cause terrible damage and coastal flooding. A hurricane might spread over an area up to 600 miles, 966 kilometers, wide and last for well over a week. Once a hurricane moves over cooler ocean waters or land, though, it begins to lose its strength. In some parts of the world, hurricanes are called typhoons.
Do cats really have 9 lives?
Do animal has more than a single life? But cats do seem to survive dangerous situations that would likely hurt or kill other animals. Most remarkable cat survival stories involve the animals falling from high places. Cats love to perch on top shelves or at window sills to get a good view of their surroundings. Their narrow, flexible bodies and great sense of balance allow them to climb into some pretty unusual places. They rarely fall from their high perches, but when they do, they usually end up with little or no damage. One reason for this is that cats have the ability to twist and turn themselves around in midair, landing on all 4 feet. Also, their flexible muscles and skeletons help their bodies absorb the impact of falls without getting hurt. Some cats have survived long falls from the windows of high-rise buildings without a scratch. Their natural characteristics seem to give them more lucky chances than other animals, hence the saying that cats have 9 lives.
Why does some gas smell worse than others?
The gas expelled from our intestines actually contains many different kinds of gases, including nitrogen, hydrogen sulfide, and methane. When high concentrations of the sulfur-containing gas hydrogen sulfide are present, your gas has a particularly strong odor. Certain foods, like beans, cabbage, and eggs, contain a lot of sulfur and can result in this smelly gas.
How many stars are there?
Stars are arranged in galaxies throughout the universe. Galaxies are very large groups held together in disk-like shapes by gravitational forces. Our own galaxy, the Milky Way, has some 100 billion stars. With powerful telescopes, scientists have located billions more galaxies in the universe in addition to the Milky Way. And each of these galaxies probably contains many billions of stars. Many more galaxies may exist that scientists have not yet seen. The number of stars in the universe is almost as unimaginable as the vastness of the universe itself.
What causes bad breath?
Poor dental care is a major cause of bad breath. Old food particles between teeth and odor-producing mouth bacteria, as well as tooth decay and infected gums, can give breath a bad smell. Brushing your teeth for at least 2 minutes a couple times a day, flossing, and even brushing your tongue, the home to lots of bacteria, can make a big difference. Sometimes bad breath can be caused by something you eat, certain foods, like onions or garlic, contain smelly substances that are absorbed into your bloodstream and then released into your lungs, causing bad breath. This smelliness will only last about a day, however, until the food leaves your body. Once in a while, bad breath can be caused by an illness in the body.
How do bees make honey?
Honeybees collect sweet nectar from flowers and bring it back to their nests or hives. There it is stored for future use, for its sugar provides honeybees with the energy they need. The nectar is stored as honey, which is a thick, concentrated form of nectar that has been converted in the bee's digestive tracts. Honey is stored in many little compartments or cells in the nest, called a hive, which the bees seal over with wax, something they also produce. We call this honey-filled wax honeycomb. Beekeepers take honeycomb from the hive, leaving enough behind for the bees. Using the wax for candle making and the honey to sweeten all kinds of foods.
Why do hyenas laugh?
Hyenas aren't really laughing, but some of the noises they make to communicate sound like loud, crazy laughter. Hyenas are usually scavengers, living on carrion, which is the rotting remains of dead animals. They have even been known to rob human graves for food. Sometimes hyenas do hunt live animals, however, attacking in packs. Mostly nocturnal, which means that they rest during the day and are active at night. Hyenas have on occasion entered villages and attacked livestock and sleeping people. The unsavory diet of the hyena gives it a bad smell. It is also not an attractive animal. With scruffy fur and hind legs that are much shorter than its forelegs, giving it a skulking appearance. Still, hyenas perform a valuable service in Earth's food chain as scavengers. Ridding the environment of dead animal remains.
What happens if I swallow chewing gum or other things that aren't food?
When you accidentally swallow something that isn't food, you really shouldn't worry about it. Unless the item is sharp, which could tear tissue as it makes its way through the digestive system. Or unusually large, which could cause blockages. Once gum or other things enter your stomach, the powerful muscles in its walls crush and churn it. And the strong enzymes and acids produced there break down nearly everything into small particles that make a thick soup. The nutrients in the soup then pass into your bloodstream and travel to all the cells in your body. Those things that can't be broken down by the stomach, which includes parts of many plant foods, or by more digestive juices in the small intestines, are moved along as solid waste and leave your body as part of a bowel movement. So things accidentally swallowed are either processed by your digestive system or find their way into the toilet. So you shouldn't worry that the bug you swallowed will set up a new home inside you. Or that the watermelon seed that slipped down your throat will grow into a big fat watermelon inside your stomach. Your stomach just isn't a good place for living things. One of the digestive juices made there, in fact called hydrochloric acid, is so powerful that it can burn a hole through clothing and other things in its concentrated form.
Why do I have to clean my room?
Our parents have the big job of taking care of your home, and it's a lot more work than it may seem. But you can help out by taking care of your room and your own things. Everyone needs to work together in a family to make things run smoothly. It's important to pick up your toys and clothes and other things and put them back where they belong after you use them. This cleanup keeps them in good shape so they won't be stepped on and ruined, or cause you to trip and fall. You will also be able to find them the next time you need them. When you take care of your things, it shows that you are responsible and will treat future possessions with the same care, which helps when you want something new. At a certain age, most kids are asked by their parents to take care of their rooms further by dusting and vacuuming. Such additional responsibilities are a part of growing up. If you lived outside, a big gust of wind would be all that you needed to get rid of the dust. But because your room is in an enclosed space, The dust that builds up there has to be removed in other ways. Keeping your room clean and dust-free helps your lungs by giving you cleaner air to breathe. It cuts down on allergies, too, because a lot of people are allergic to dust mites. Tiny creatures that live among dust. And dusting and vacuuming make things like carpeting and furniture look nice and last longer.
Why do snakes always stick out their tongues?
Although a snake's forked tongue darting constantly in and out of its mouth can look scary, it is actually quite harmless. Snakes repeatedly stick out their tongues not because they're rude, but because they are using their tongues to gather information. Snakes have an organ located on the roof of their mouths called Jacobson's organ. This organ processes tiny amounts of chemical substances that are picked up by the snake's flicking tongue. Each time the tongue goes out of the snake's mouth, it picks up chemicals from the air. The snake then inserts the tips of its delicate forked tongue into the two openings of Jacobson's organ, which can analyze the chemicals to tell if a nearby animal is potential food, or perhaps an enemy. Male snakes also use their tongues as part of a courting ritual, that is, the process by which they figure out if a certain female snake is interested in mating with them. The male snake jerks his body around, snapping his tongue in and out. And if the female ignores him, he knows to keep looking for a suitable partner. If she responds favorably, he's found his mate.
What should you do if all your efforts in school bring disappointing results?
Don't be ashamed and don't give up. The most important thing is not how much you learn, or how fast you learn, but that you continue to learn and do your best.
Why do flowers look different from one another?
The way a flower looks depends a lot on the way it is pollinated. Flowers that depend on the wind for pollination are usually small and plain looking, because they don't need to attract the attention of insects and birds to carry their pollen. But flowers that do depend on the carrier method need ways to attract the animals that will help them cross-pollinate. And flowers are often structured in terms of color, scent, and shape to suit a particular insect or animal visitor. Many flowers attractive to bees have parts that act as landing platforms, so the bees that visit them can rest their heavy bodies while feeding. Bees can see most colors, except red, and they are attracted to colorful flowers. And because bees use long sucking tubes to collect pollen and nectar, the flowers that they visit often have long, narrow shapes. Butterflies like many of the same flowers that bees do. They, too, have long, sucking mouth parts and like to land when feeding. Their large wings keep them from traveling deep into flowers, though. For this reason they prefer flowers that are flat, broad, and clustered. Butterflies are attracted to all bright colors. Moths, which are similar to butterflies, are nocturnal, which means they are active at night. So the flowers they are attracted to tend to be light-colored or white, the kinds of flowers that show up well in the dark. And because moths tend to hover in the air when feeding, they need no landing platforms on the flowers they visit. Hummingbirds have a poor sense of smell but see color well. The flowers they prefer are bright red or orange and supply plenty of nectar in their deep, narrow blooms. Flowers pollinated by flies, which are attracted to decaying matter, where they tend to lay their eggs, are generally dark green, purple, or brown colors that resemble the rotted material flies prefer. The flowers that bats feed from have large openings for their snouts and strong parts that the animals can grip onto with their claws.
Why do we measure things differently than most people in the world?
Different systems of measurement are used in the world today, with the two most important being the metric system, or International System of Units, SI, and the English units of measurements. From ancient times, people have always used various units to measure the weight, volume, and length of things. A certain number of plant seeds might make up a unit that measured weight, for instance, and then that unit could be used to measure other things besides seeds. The measurement of a body part might have been used to create a unit that showed length. The length of an inch, for example, came from either the width of a man's thumb or the distance from the tip of a man's finger to the first joint. The yard came from the length of a man's arm from nose to fingertip, and the foot from the size of a man's foot. But until these units were standardized, with a set unit of weight or length agreed upon, measurement was unreliable, because seeds and people come in all sizes. As late as the 18th century, the same measurement units varied from place to place. But French scientists began a movement around that time to have a single, precise measurement system used by all countries throughout the world. They called it the International System of Units, and it is based on the metric system, where all measurement units are multiples of 10. The meter is the standard unit of length, and the kilogram is the standard unit of mass, or weight. Bit by bit, this system of measurement was officially adopted for use by all the countries of the world, except for the nations of Liberia, Myanmar, also known as Burma, and the United States. Many people believe the United States should switch to the metric system, but the complicated process of changing from one measurement system to another usually takes a number of years. In the United States, most people still use an older and more complicated measurement system called the English units of measurements. That standard unit of length is the yard and the pound is the standard unit of mass, or weight. Measurements can be changed from one system to another using mathematical equations or a conversion chart. While the metric system is being used more and more in the United States, particularly in the scientific community, there has still been no official move to adopt it.
Who decides what is right and wrong?
When you are young, it is mainly your parents, but also teachers and other grown ups close to you, who decide what is right and wrong. They are the ones who make the rules that they believe will keep you safe and help you learn how to become a good person and get along in the world. Adults make the best teachers because they have experienced a lot of different situations while growing up themselves. And they have learned lessons from those experiences that they can share with you. Grown ups are wiser than children, who have lived just a short time in the world. But, as you continue to mature, you will have your own experiences and learn your own lessons. You may begin to question certain rules, and your ideas about what is right and wrong may change. This development is a normal part of growing up. The point at which you start to become the independent and unique person you are meant to be. Still, no matter how much you change, it is important to remember that some rules of behavior will always remain the same. One rule is to treat yourself with care and respect. Another is to treat others with the same thoughtfulness and respect with which you would like them to treat you. When you grow up, you will have to follow the rules of law and government in the country in which you live. Many of these rules are based on respect for the rights of others.
How does a magnifying glass work?
A magnifying glass is a convex lens, which means that it is much thicker in the middle than around its edges. This shape bends the light waves of objects viewed through it, causing us to see them in unusual ways. When you hold a magnifying glass close to an object, its light waves are widened before they are focused on your eyes, causing the object to appear very large. But when you hold a magnifying glass out and view a distant object with it, the item appears smaller and upside down. This effect is due to the image being beyond the focus of the lens. The more curved a convex lens is, the greater its ability to bend light and magnify. Microscopes, which allow us to look at things that are too small to be seen with our eyes, and binoculars and telescopes, which make far-away things look bigger and nearer to us, also use convex lenses.
What is the equator?
The equator is the imaginary line that circles Earth at its widest part around its middle at an equal distance from both the North and South poles. It is 24,830 miles, 39,952 kilometers, long and runs east and west, separating the northern and southern hemispheres of Earth. On maps the equator is given the coordinate 0 degrees latitude, the starting point from which all other latitudes are figured. Latitude tells how far north or south a place is located on the globe. Latitude is used along with longitude, which tells how far east or west a place is located in relation to an imaginary line that runs north and south. The prime meridian to map the exact location of any place on Earth. Because of Earth's round shape, the equator is the part of the world that is always closest to the sun, receiving its rays most directly. In other regions, sunlight hits Earth at an angle, and the additional amount of atmosphere through which it travels absorbs more heat, leading to milder climates. The weather is usually very warm around the equator, regions collectively known as the tropics.
What are plants?
Plants and animals make up almost all of the living things in the world. They are alike in a lot of ways. Both are made up of cells, tiny building blocks of life that produce chemicals that control growth and activity. Often these cells become specialized in a plant or animal, with different types doing particular jobs. In addition, both plants and animals use gases, water, and minerals to carry on life processes. Both experience life cycles in which they are created, grow, reproduce, and die. But plants are very different from animals in one big way: most don't move around. Because they are rooted to one spot, plants are able to perform a special process called photosynthesis. For this remarkable process, plants use energy from sunlight, a gas in the air called carbon dioxide, and water and minerals from soil to produce their own food. Animals can't do this, they must look for food, eating plants or other animals in order to get the energy they need to live. The waste product produced by photosynthesis is oxygen, the gas that all animals need to breathe. So without plant life, there would be no animal life on Earth. And without plants around to absorb carbon dioxide, an excess amount of this gas would linger in our atmosphere, trapping the sun's heat and causing an unwanted increase in the planet's average temperatures. Plants, then, are essential not only because they provide so much of the food we eat, and provide nourishment for many of the animals we eat, but because they make our air healthier, using up carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. In addition, we depend on plants to provide us with other things we need, like wood for building, fibers for making clothes, and medicines to improve our health.
How is a tortoise different from a turtle?
Depending on where you live in the world, the words turtle and tortoise can be used to mean different things. Generally, in the United States, the word turtle is used to describe all members of the order Chelonia. The reptiles characterized by the shell that covers their bodies, those that live on land, in the sea, and in fresh water. Tortoise refers specifically to the group of turtles that live on land. In other words, all tortoises are turtles, but not all turtles are tortoises. Turtles look like ancient and primitive animals because that's what they are. They have survived relatively unchanged for hundreds of millions of years, thanks in large part to their hard, protective shells. Turtles can pull their arms, legs, tail, and head completely inside their shells, which in some species are strong enough to support a weight 200 times greater than their own. Not only have turtle species survived an incredibly long time, but individual turtles also have a longer lifespan than any other vertebrate, with some being known to live longer than 150 years. Turtles are legendary for their slow movement, particularly the lumbering tortoises that have been clocked at a pace of less than 1/3 of a mile, about half a kilometer, per hour. Turtles don't have teeth, but many types do have sharp, horny beaks that they can use to chew food. Most tortoises eat small, soft invertebrates like worms, slugs, and insects, while water-living turtles eat fish and even some small birds and mammals. Turtles come in a huge range of sizes. Smaller species weigh less than a pound, 454 grams, and reach only about 5 inches, 12.5 centimeters, in length. The largest tortoises have shells just under 3 feet. 1 meter, long, weighing more than 500 pounds, 225 kilograms. The Atlantic leatherback, the largest of the sea turtles, can reach 7 feet. 2.1 meters, in length and weigh around 1,200 pounds, 540 kilograms.
Is it possible to dig deep enough into Earth's surface to come out on the other side?
It's a journey that only a superhero could make. Earth is made up of different layers of rock. The outer layer, or crust, is solid layered rock that is about 20 to 30 miles, 32 to 48 kilometers, thick under the continents and about 3.5 to 5 miles, 5.6 to 8 kilometers, thick beneath the oceans. Earth's mantle, which is made up of a different kind of layered rock, extends for another 1,800 miles, 2,880 kilometers, below that. Although scientists cannot penetrate this deep into the planet, they know that the mantle's composition is different from the crust because shock waves from earthquakes travel very differently through it. At the center of Earth is its core, which is more than 2,000 miles, 3,200 kilometers, deep. The core consists mostly of melted iron and nickel, with a solid metal center. Rock melts near the center of Earth because the great pressure of so much weight above raises temperatures there to between 5,000 and 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 2760 to 3871 degrees Celsius. The very center of Earth may reach temperatures as high as 13,000 degrees Fahrenheit. 7,000 degrees Celsius. Scientists believe that eruptions of volcanoes, with their hot gases and lava, or melted rock, relieve pressure from Earth's interior. That pressure escapes through the shifting plates of rock that make up Earth's crust.
What is hell?
In many Christian religions, hell is the place of punishment where people go after death if they have not lived good lives and followed the rules of thought and behavior set forth by God in scriptures. Sacred writings, like the Bible, and in the teachings of churches and religious leaders. Hell is believed to be a horrible place because it is the opposite of heaven. Hell is a place where a person's spirit will forever be deprived of the presence of God. To never know the joy of God's presence, believers feel, is so painful that it is compared to burning in earthly fire forever, one of the most awful things that can be imagined. Just like with heaven, people have tried over the centuries, through paintings and writings, to create images of hell, a place of enormous suffering. And as heaven is thought to be located above, hell was given an opposite location down below. Satan, or Lucifer, who, according to the Bible, was a favorite angel of God's until he disobeyed him, is the ruler of hell. In many Christian religions, Satan and his wicked angel followers, devils, are thought to be the cause of evil in the world, always tempting people to be bad. Many non-Christian religions also teach of a place like hell, where people who have led bad lives on earth must go after they die. Even the ancient Greeks and Romans, who lived before the development of Christianity, believed in an underworld, a place where people traveled to after death. Good and bad people lived in different places in this ancient underworld.
How do farmers keep animals from eating their crops?
Farmers keep animals away from their crops in a number of ways. Birds are probably the biggest wildlife pests because they feed on seeds before they have a chance to grow. And they eat developing food plants. Because loud noises and the presence of predators and people frighten birds, farmers have used things like scarecrows and models of bird predators, like hawks hung from poles or trees, to try to keep hungry creatures away. Devices called bird scarers, which make repeated, loud, shotgun-like bangs, are also used. But before scarers were invented, it was usually the job of farm children to stand in fields, in all kinds of weather, using wooden clappers, rattles, and other noisemakers to keep birds away from crops. Other crop enemies in the animal world are insects. Sometimes insect damage can be controlled by introducing Beneficial insects that eat the bugs causing the problem. But generally farmers take stronger measures, like spraying chemical insecticides that poison the pests. Sprayers pulled by tractors are usually used, though airplanes. Crop dusters can spray a large field very quickly.
What are some of the smallest animals in the world?
Some people consider protozoa, which are a type of single-celled organisms including amoebas, part of the animal kingdom. According to that classification, the microscopic protozoa would be the smallest animals. But many classification systems place protozoa in their own kingdom called Protista, a group separate from the animal kingdom. Several types of insects are nearly microscopic, measuring only a fraction of a millimeter in length. The smallest mammals are considerably larger than that, Commerson's dolphin, weighing around 50 to 70 pounds, 23 to 32 kilograms, is the smallest sea mammal. A bat that is about the same size as a bumblebee, called Kitty's hog-nosed bat, may be the smallest land mammal. It is only about an inch long, 29 to 33 millimeters, and weighs around 0.07 ounces, 2 grams.
What is the United Nations?
The United Nations, or UN, is an international organization that works to maintain peace and cooperation among nations. Headquartered in New York City, the UN was formed in 1945, right after World War II. The war was the largest and most costly in human history, involving most of the world and killing tens of millions of people. The countries that founded the organization wanted to make sure that no such war ever happened again. By creating a place where all nations of the world could meet and peaceably solve their problems. Representatives of more than 180 countries join together in regular sessions. Those special sessions can be called to vote on political, economic, and humanitarian matters taking place around the world. A special Security Council is responsible for preserving peace among nations by resolving disagreements between countries or taking actions to stop situations that threaten world peace. In addition to resolving conflicts, the United Nations also oversees other agencies that help provide the world's citizens with healthcare, environmental protection, legal aid, and many other services.